I was surprised to learn how many things other than science a practicing scientist actually has to do. So you study chemistry and you say, I learn how atoms interact and I know what carbon does and I know what acids and bases do. And you think you know all this chemistry and you're ready to be a scientist. And then you realize you also have to learn how to solder. Wiring? Plumbing? I use a lot of duct tape. I didn't expect that I would use so much duct tape in my life. You just have to do all sorts of different things every day to get your science experiment to work out. I'm Laura Iraci. I'm an atmospheric scientist. I work at NASA. Well, I've always been interested in how the world works. And so when I found chemistry in high school, that was great. That was really interesting because you could try something, you could see a result, and I really like sort of having my hands right in the mix. Doing something that makes a visible change is always really satisfying. So high school chemistry hooked me, absolutely hooked me. And I knew that my future was somewhere along the path of science. The first time I ever thought about working at NASA was when I saw a flyer on a bulletin board in college. I didn't actually realize that NASA studies the Earth. You don't think of that very often. I wound up with an internship at NASA, and that helped me get sort of on the right path to figuring out how to pursue an education that would allow me to study the Earth. By the time I had a bachelor's degree in chemistry, then I was able to find an atmospheric chemistry graduate program and sort of just been walking down this path of how to study and understand and hopefully protect our planet. Life is not a straight line. I learn this one every day, and I didn't realize it growing up. You think, okay, I'll go to high school, and I'll go to college, and then after college, a scientist goes to graduate school, and everything seems very linear. But as soon as you leave graduate school, the plan goes out the window. That's really hard for someone with my personality type. I like to have a clear plan. The plan always falls apart, and in the end, you come out the other side, and there's some good that's come from the catastrophe. So I think maybe that's the lesson I try to remember every day, is that if I don't go forward, sometimes going sideways is okay. So a lot of my colleagues say that their coolest NASA moment is meeting an astronaut. Mine was meeting Harrison Ford. There was no Millennium Falcon involved, but he came to NASA to film a documentary about climate change. And I got to meet Harrison Ford and show him some of our data. He actually collected some data for us on a research flight, and that's probably my most memorable NASA moment. There's a fine line between advocating for yourself and bragging and being a pest. And you really have to be an advocate for yourself. No one's going to go out of their way on your behalf unless you make a case for yourself and really get yourself out there and actively participate in your own life. Sometimes women or girls are not taught the skill of bragging or not encouraged to brag about their accomplishments, and that's something that it helps to be able to do in a polite way in the right situation, is to really stand up and say, you know what, I did that, and I'm proud of that, and that's good work, and you should listen to me. And sometimes it's hard to do, so that was a tough lesson to learn. I've definitely come to realize that you have to enjoy where you're spending your time. So if you're at a job you like, you need to also be with people you like to be around, because otherwise it's just not fun. So that's one of the great things about working at NASA. There's a wide variety of people and different personalities and different things they're interested in. You can have an incredible variety of interesting conversations just by walking down the hall. You can talk about Mars, you can talk about Earth, you can talk about aircraft or spacecraft. And it's really great to work in an environment where it's never boring. And that kind of carries over into life. It can't all be about work, at least for me. Maybe that suits some people, but you need to figure out for yourself what that right balance is. Because if you're always feeling like you're missing out on something, you're not going to be happy all the time.